gun and go kick a door and bring them back. And it just doesn't work like that. And fortunately, we are backed by the U.S. Constitution law back in 1876. That's how far it goes back to an actual bounty hunting law, which was based on some of the bond slave laws from way back in biblical days. I mean, it goes that far back. But to bring you up to speed into the 19th and 20th century, and on to the 21st, that's exactly, the Constitution does back us up. Basically, when those people, I bond them out, when I see them inside the jail, or one of my agents, when they sign that document, they basically are surrendering themselves or their rights to us as a company, stating that they are going to follow all the conditions set forth by the judge, whether it's a district court judge or a circuit court judge. And whatever the judge, he or she, tells them to do, they got to abide by that. And they're signing, attesting to that fact. And then we signed and attest to the fact that if they don't appear, we'll bring them back within a certain amount of days, or they can charge us the money. And so it can get a little hairy there, but it basically, we do have the right. We can search their last known address or the address on the application, or that was with the courts.
Well, I would think that you must encounter things with family members or the individuals themselves that are claiming that you're violating search and seizure rights. Sure. And First Amendment and a variety of other things, whether they know accurately what they're talking about or not, in terms of trying to defend themselves about being able to question your validity. Yep. And that's why I think it's important to try to demystify or break up some of the myths that may go along with it, because we see it glorified through Dog the Bounty Hunter and a variety of things, and people wonder how much of that is television and how much of that is the real story, whether people can pursue things that maybe would otherwise violate due process.
Right, and actually some of that stuff that he does, unfortunately, is theatrics. The basis is there. They get a skip, a failed to appear, they pursue them, and actually, a couple of those guys are felons, so they can't carry. They can't get a CCW, carry a concealed weapons permit, because they're felons. So that's why they started with mace, and I think now when they came to the States, now they can use paintball guns with pepper spray. But I think it's a little inflamed, or I think he's looking to start it up. We weren't looking for any of that. We wanted real TV. We wanted to put people on TV to show people that if you go through the court system and post a bond, whether through the bondsman, us, any other bondsman, or the court, a 10% bond through the court, they take it very seriously. I mean, you are due back in court, you better be there, because when you get there, them robes aren't laughing or playing games. You get in front of the man or the woman with the robe, you're down there. And back to the search and seizure issue, we have always checked in with the local dispatch, let them know who we are, give them the warrant number, what we're up to, what we're doing. They'll often ask if we need standby or assistance. And a lot of times it's just surveillance, so we say no.
So that's standard procedure for you in
terms
of when you're in another community or here in Muskegon?
Absolutely, for bad boys bail bonds, statewide, nationwide. And that led us to forming, we formed our own private investigation company too. Got licensed through the state of Michigan for our PI license, because that helps us when we get outside of our normal parameters, in the area. And then we started a security company that's certified and backed by the state of Michigan as well. So we have the PI license, the security company license, the bondsman license, so we try to cover all aspects. And even with that, I've been through civil litigation, unfortunately. But I've won, and thank God. But, there's nut jobs everywhere. We're just out to try to make a living and do it the right way.
Well, you mentioned the private investigation, and there's a lot of, delicate things that are in that regard. But, you have divorce cases, you have business embezzlements, you have all kinds of things which sometimes the normal attorney can't do, and I'm not sure whether an attorney's staff can do all the research or do the background to find that out. So have you worked with representation, legal representation for a client to do background checks and investigations on and going through those issues of divorce and business cases?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, that's where a majority of our business is driven from, is through attorneys for their clients that don't have the time exactly or necessarily the ability or the staff to do it. So that's where we come in and can help their client and try to help the situation, whether it may be divorce, embezzlement by employees, drug trade inside of employees' grounds, factories, and things of this nature, surveillance. Risk assessment, we've got some other corporate clients that TAF has been developing for risk assessment in regards to how to reduce your liability from either being robbed or ripped off from a job or from your shop.
Well, I've been involved in Neighborhood Watch, and I was a captain in my area.
It's a great program.
And there's a lot of things that on community policing level are important. Are there ways that you could reach out to our audience and talk about how the community can, keep the free flow of information? Because oftentimes there's a serious concern about risk in terms of people, reporting things, and they're worried about retribution and that types of thing.
Of course.
But, are there any confidential lines that people can call here in Muskegon County, or can they contact bad boys and if they're concerned about suspicious behavior that they think should be looked into?
Absolutely. Muskegon County has Silent Observer, which is run through the Muskegon County Sheriff's Department through Sheriff Dean Rossler and his detectives there. It's a great program, strictly 100% anonymous. It's a great program. It's worked very well. Crime Stoppers is another one. That's not necessarily in Muskegon County. So we got our own Silent Observer. However, we do get many, many phone calls to bad boys, bail bonds that want to divulge some information on some things that are going on in their neighborhoods. We give it right to the authorities. We don't get involved in any of that. I'm not, trying to police.
Right.
I'm not. However, with that said, law enforcement will tell you that without the community's help in policing your neighborhoods, they can't do it alone. I mean, they just can't do it. And by neighbors looking out for neighbors and contacting authorities through either 911 or Silent Observer, it's the number 72-CRIME, C-R-I-M-E, 72-CRIME. I mean, look, I don't want to be labeled as a snitch, but I don't want anybody breaking in my neighbor's house and raping his wife and cutting his daughter's throat. I mean, it's as plain and simple as that. Those are the facts. I don't want anybody breaking in my house, robbing me while I'm going on vacation, as well as I'm sure you don't. Nobody wants to be violated. So I know there's a big thing going around, but I ain't going to be no snitch and all this stuff. And back in the last 5, 6, 7 years. And the truth of the matter is, the less crime, the better we all live, the better time we have with our families and our communities. I mean, that's the bottom line,
Right.
is having a good, safe time, right?
Well, there's an old traffic safety line: the life you save may be your own. And one of the things that brings my concern is about that. Sometimes, kids will be exposed to people in a neighborhood who want to, get high, or might be child predators, or getting away with some kind of thing. And people, sometimes criminals want attention. They want to be little celebrities in their own right.
Sure.
And sometimes a parent might feel powerless and not know who to turn to. Or even a young person, sometimes there's, as we mentioned, there could be sexual abuse, there could be other kinds of things that happen, and intimidation. And if the public knows that there's some place to turn, we don't want people out there to feel helpless.
That's right.
But that's part of one of the things that you're involved with, is trying to keep a stable community. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about how the community can get involved, and in other ways that with Gotcha TV we can hopefully pass on some lessons to the community about how you can look for some of the watchful signs to take responsibility for your community, because it serves us all. Safety it's in all of our interests. So it's not just a matter of call the cops. It comes down to personal responsibility and being willing to speak up and make an effort to care about somebody. So Tommy, we're going to get to know more of your staff, and we'll be right back. So stay with us on Where Do We Go From Here.
No! See all this and more at GotchaTV.com.
Schmidt Roofing and Construction, specializing in roofing, siding, windows, doors, gutters, shutters, and chimneys. With experienced and reliable crews, they offer 3 years of workmanship on any roof, siding, or window installation they do. The Birdhouse, offering everything for the birds and some things for the bird lovers. Stained glass window art, heated bird bats, outdoor thermometers, wild bird suet and seed, identifiers, as well as feeders and houses galore.
The Glenside and Northside pubs, from sandwiches, burgers, and Mexican food to starters, salads, soups, and desserts, not to mention their specialty pizzas like Hawaiian, vegetarian, chicken Alfredo, and of course their grand finale. It's the Glenside and Northside pubs.
Max and Marley's Doghouse, for all the gourmet dogs, like the Texas dog, Nacho dog, and the Southern Comfort dog, Chihuahua dog, Bratty Brat, Reuben